Okay, let's get in formation. But the formation that we are looking at now is other random sampling methods. Specifically, what you're looking at now is the idea of what a stratification is. Okay, so what a stratification? We got a population that's divided into subgroups based on common characteristics. So that picture I just showed you a minute ago is a perfect example of a stratification, because you see what's happening right here. We have the entire group of high school students, and then you can see that it's separated into freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Now, that's how stratification works, breaking it into subgroups. Oh, what are the subgroups called? They're called stratas. But after you break them into the strata, you just randomly select a person or people from each strata. Now, I just gave you one example, but I also want you to recognize here a strata can be separated based on age, ethnicity, gender. We just did grade. And after you've stratified, again, you have to randomly select out of the strata. Stratifications are useful when you want to compare subgroups. Now, you guys I don't have to tell you there's a big difference between freshmen and seniors. So if I'm talking about asking a question about smoking, well, yeah, I'm sure there's a couple freshmen out there that smoke, but I'm sure there's a lot more juniors and seniors that smoke. So in terms of, we can see how stratification would be, because it would give us a clear examination of what's happening in the freshman class, the sophomore class, the junior, and the senior, and then we can do a comparison within that. How is it different from a SRS? Well, an SRS may underrepresent or overrepresent, in most cases underrepresent, a subgroup. This is the reason why. Again, I want to do a survey on what number of students smoke. Well, if I just put it out there and put an SRS, I might get a bunch of freshmen. Well, we already know freshmen are less likely to smoke. You get older, that's when you want to smoke. So that's why an SRS is not as good in that particular situation. Okay, you can put down that scenario I gave you in terms of with the showing you the little colored people, but I also came up with another example of it. So at Etowanda, we have a report card, and this is the 2014-2015 report card, and it showed that 36.4% of our students are socially disenfranchised. So I want to put a survey out there. My survey would be, do you plan on going to a four-year college? Well, if I just do an SRS, that means that 36% of students are less likely to be represented, because I'm just going to randomly select students, but they're only 36% of the population. Way too big, but that's not my point. Statistically, I'm saying that they're going to be underrepresented. But if I do stratas, in which I have one that is one strata that's socioeconomically disadvantaged versus not, and then I ask them that question, then I will see, okay, students that are disenfranchised or socially economically disadvantaged, they feel that they won't be able to go to a four-year college for a lot of different reasons. So as Etowanda, our high school, and even our district can come up with programs to help those kids be able to get to a four-year program. Also, in making them aware of all the different monies that are out there that will allow them to make it into a four-year, not program, but a four-year university. I just mentioned this. Why is it beneficial? To see how they're different within the subgroups. And again, with the strata, we're making sure that each subgroup, which is called the strata, will be represented equally. Another particular example is that when I am looking at asking a question about racial issues, well, I just do an SRS, but how am I going to get a true representation of the races unless I do form a strata? Now here's another type of random sampling technique, and it's called cluster sampling. And like a strata, you divide it into subgroups, but this is the difference. All individuals of that subgroup are chosen. So all the people in the subgroups are chosen. Let me show you a drawing. You may want to write this down or draw this really quickly. So, forgot to mention it. Let me back up and talk about strata again. So here, here's your entire population. What's going on here is I've colored in the yellow. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to break it down into stratas. There's commonality. Okay? And let's just say it's commonality of food. Okay? And so we have American food, we have Mexican food, and then we have Italian food. So that would be our three stratas. And then within those stratas, I see I'm going to randomly select certain foods. Okay, so for the American, pizza and hot dogs, deal with hot dogs. For the Mexican, tacos and burritos, my favorite. And then, of course, for the third strata, for the Italian, it would be lasagna and spaghetti. Oh, yeah, I'm totally getting hungry. But see, this is the thing, the strata into groups, and I randomly select within each strata. So here, from this strata, I'm going to be choosing 2, choosing 2, choosing 2. Now let me show you a cluster. So now let's look at this. Here's an idea of cluster sampling. So let's say that I have this group is freshmen, this group is sophomores, this group is juniors, and this group is seniors in high school. And at the same time, I have the freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors in college. So I'm asking a question of people that are between the ages of 14 and 21. And then what I'm going to do is randomly select one of the clusters. And here we can see it's going to be the sophomores in high school. It's going to be the seniors in high school. And then it's going to be the juniors in college. Then after I've randomly selected them, selected the cluster, because that's what that subgroup is called, the cluster, I now am going to give out a survey or collect information from everyone in that cluster. Okay, the other day in period 5, Alex did this, in which she had a survey. There's a lot of classes around here. She selected ours. No, it wasn't random, it was convenience sampling. Okay, I'll give you that. Then, who did she give the survey out to? She gave the survey out to all of the students in the class. So when it comes to projects, etc., and you guys go to teachers' classrooms, you're big time doing cluster sampling. You're doing convenience sampling. Why? That's your teacher. That teacher is more than likely going to allow you to do it. And then after that, you give the survey to everybody. That makes it a cluster sample. I mentioned this a minute ago, but let me reiterate it. What are the subgroups called? They're called clusters. And honestly, when are they used? Well, saving time. Again, why do you just go to one teacher's classroom, which is convenience, and then after that, you grab the information from everybody in the group? Why? It's convenient. Or I shouldn't use that word. It saves time. So here's the example that I just mentioned. Now, what are the similarities between a strata and a cluster? Well, similarities is they're divided into subgroups. And yes, for stratas, well, they definitely have some type of commonality between them. Clusters, maybe. What are the differences? Well, the difference is once you have a strata, you take your subgroup and then you do an SRS to see who you're going to be selecting. When it's a cluster, you're going to select all of the people within the group. The last one I want to discuss before we do an example is here we have systematic. Elementary school teachers do this all the time. Choosing a pattern. Every 5th student, every 10th student. Okay? Counting off. And let me show you an example of systematic. So here's a picture of systematic. And as I'm going across, every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So every 5th person, and then here, every 5th person. Many teachers do this also. I remember my elementary school teacher used to do it, and I used to figure out if she was going to call me to read based on the obvious pattern that I saw her make. So, let's continue. I need to add to something I said earlier. I notice I have some footnotes down here at the bottom of my page. But the idea here in terms of the how is it different from the SRS? Again, SRS may not give us, it will underrepresent particular populations. So, as I mentioned here, and I did say this, I just didn't have it in writing. When it's in a strata, in terms of that, the disadvantaged subgroup, okay, they're going to have an equal representation if we use the strata. So therefore, we divide them into strata, and then we take the SRS, and it gives us a better, again, representation of that population, which is truly only a third of the overall population, but at least they will be equally given the opportunity to to be represented. Turn to page 7 of your notes and take a moment to read this. Now, when you look here, we have the cheap seats are at the end zones. And the bottom line is, if you've been to a concert or a play or something, here, different colors let us know it's different prices for seats. So here, the athletic department is considering to stratify. Okay, why would you recommend this? Would you recommend it, and why? And here you can see we've got 3 different colors going on. So because we've got 3 different colors, that gives us 3 different potential stratas, because the 3 different colors represents different cost. And in terms of people that go to the concession stand, well, based on the cost that they were willing to pay for a ticket, it also will determine how much they're willing to spend at this game. And then it says, explain why cluster sampling might be easier. Because the bottom line with cluster is, after you randomly select which section, you are going to choose the entire group, which means everybody's sitting closer together. So it's very convenient and easier for you as a surveyor. Okay? And just answered this question. It's easier for you as a surveyor because everybody's in the same area because of the proximity of the seating. Okay, let's go ahead and read number 22. How was your stay? So the hotel manager wants to survey 120 guests who stayed at the hotel during the convention about their overall satisfaction of the property. Now you notice that they had some people that were facing the water, the nice calm water, and other people that were facing the golf course. Yeah, I don't like golf that much. I would love to face the water. So the reason that I would choose a strata here, because the customer satisfaction is going to be based on the location. I'm going to be a heck of a lot happier if I'm looking at the nice calm water versus the golf course that I really could care less about. Okay, so with that being said, we need to pay attention to, that's going to be one strata, where they faced, whether it was the water or the golf course. But I should also mention also the floor that they're on. And the reason that that's important is because the higher you are, the better the view, and the better the view, the more satisfied you would be. Here, why might a cluster be easier? Well, the bottom line is when you have a cluster, you're using the entire floor. So it's less walking. He's just going to use only a few floors instead of having to randomly select people and then go to each floor and go to each room. You know, nobody has time for that. Well, actually you do if you want a good survey. But in this case, yes, we could just look at one particular floor. But there's going to be a problem with this clustering because if we only go to one floor, well, their view of that floor, whether it is the water or the golf course, is going to be different from someone that's maybe on the second floor versus someone that's on the fifth floor. Are they going to get the same picturesque view? And my answer is I don't think so. So, TTFN, ta-ta for now. Peace out, guys.